The MG Show. What real independent journalism looks like.
Remember, thumbs up if you like the video, subscribe to the channel, and don't forget to ring that bell. Stay tuned, we're going to start right now.
What you know you can't explain. But you feel it. You felt it your entire life. That there's something wrong. You don't know what it is, but it's there. Like a splinter in your mind, driving you mad. Experience the awakening. Brilliant anonymous researchers. Patriots, join us in the Patriot Army. Trust the plan, pain coming. Boom, boom, boom. Let's go. RedStateTalkRadio.com, Brighteon.tv, Rumble.com/MG Show. The end won't be for everyone. That choice to know will be yours. Where we go one, we go all. Fight, 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 and fight we will. We fight every day right here on the MG Show. Oh. Wow. If that intro doesn't get you pumped up, I don't know what will. But I do have something else that will pump you up. First, welcome, Shady Grove. And then second, we have got a fantastic guest today. We were on his show last week, and it garnered about 15,000 views on just one platform, which was the YouTube platform. We will link that interview if you'd like to see it with Paramount Tactical and Gary, Shady Grove. Isn't this awesome?
This is awesome. And so we decided that since he was so kind to invite us over there, that we would bring him over here and share what he had to say with you guys, because whenever it comes to people that can cut through the noise, we all need to pay attention to each other, because in reality, that's exactly what they're trying to do. They're trying to distract us. They're trying to make us run down rabbit holes that we never come out of. And that's a big problem right now. And I think that some of your friends and family may be getting caught up in the web, if you know what I'm saying.
And, you know, another thing that I'd like to say is that they want to divide this movement. They probably don't like us talking with Gary, you know, and you know what? I'm okay with that, because we learned that, you know, Candace Owens is now bad. You know, Steve Bannon was hanging out with Epstein, for crying out loud, and wanting to 25th Amendment Trump. We got, you know, General Flynn, Patrick Byrne, Sidney Powell, all of them, Alex Jones saying that Trump is going to be the next president in 2020. Back then, Shady Grove, okay? They lied. And, you know, they were going to use devolution and all this weird crap that all these fake anons actually started decoding, which got tied to our movement, Shady Grove. And the bottom line is that we support President Donald J. Trump, period.
End of story. And that's exactly the reason that we can see that they're I think that because of what Donald Trump is doing, that's what's causing the ruckus. That's why they're all activated. That's why they all got to come out. And they're very, very eager to get to the microphone to tell us to vote for Democrats, right? I mean, that's their move. They got to get out to vote for Democrats and make the midterms, you know, something you're going to remember. I have family. I grew up in North Carolina. I talk to my family quite often. There's a lot of them. They're up in the holler still. And you know what they say? They say balls to the wall Trump. That's what they say.
And nobody really understands what's happening on X. Okay.
Right.
a lot of my friends and family in real life don't have X, so they don't see all this. So this battle is really on that battlefield. And, it bleeds onto YouTube with all the black pillars and everything. But I want to welcome to this show Gary from Paramount Tactical, because we've used your information on this show in regards to the UVU shooter. We're looking at all the way that the media is using stochastic terrorism, all these narratives trying to create a lone wolf, because statistically, if people believe that Trump is Hitler, if people believe that Trump is this and, Israel first and all this, stupid stuff, that they don't realize that Trump is in control, that they might actually do something about it statistically. So, we might need a new word for the word terrorism, and that's stochastic terrorism. And that's exactly what we've seen, because all three of the shooters all believed in, the Ukraine stuff, and Trump was a P3DO, and, all the, Trump was Hitler and he's a threat to our democracy. If you say that lie over and over and over enough, people are statistically going to react to it. And here's where we are. And we even have it in the fake MAGA circles. Yep. Gary, welcome to the show.
Hey, thanks for having me on. I enjoyed talking to you the other night. I look forward to having another discussion with you today. So, big time.
Thank you. So what we want to do, I guess, is just, take a step back. Why don't you go ahead and introduce everybody to you, let everybody know where you're at. And, I think, where I found you, and I know you and Shady go back and forth on X and whatnot. But, what's on your mind within this movement with the fake MAGA, with the Candace and the Tuckers and, all this stuff, and, them actually wanting to get the shooter of Charlie Kirk free, essentially.
Yeah, no, it's been a wild ride. So again, I've been, for those of you who don't know me, a former Green Beret, did multiple combat tours, got out, and I started a company called Paramount Tactical Solutions. So we're a training company, but we also sell firearms and all those things. But I also started doing social media back around COVID. That's when we kind of got serious about social media. And one of the things that I did, besides talking about firearms and teaching people to be more independent and be able to protect themselves and their family and being prepared for different events, I've always been a proponent of conservative politics. Look, I think that's one of the biggest things in this country. The more that we move away from the Constitution, obviously, the further down the rabbit hole that we go. So I've always covered that stuff. So I've always been a big fan of Charlie Kirk going way back when. And of course, when Charlie Kirk was killed, I think, like a lot of people out there, it felt personal. So, having my background as a former sniper and somebody that teaches long-range shooting, we teach ballistics. We have our own line of, custom rifles. This is what I do. 24/7. This is my job. Ballistics, internal, external, and terminal ballistics. So, of course, a lot of people started, and of course, I wanted to kind of investigate what was going on. And just like you and many people out there, I don't trust the government. I don't care if Donald Trump's involved. I don't care what's going on. I don't trust the government. I want to know the facts for myself. Mm-hmm. So I started investigating everything that was going on with the Charlie Kirk assassination. And one of the things that I did ultimately was I actually went to UVU. I interviewed over a dozen eyewitnesses. I've had probably 5 or 6 of those on. And I had no idea what was happening with Candace Owens till about, I don't know, probably late October, early November, somewhere around there. And then I saw what was happening. I started hearing all these conspiracy theories, and I started paying attention to what was going on with Candace Owens. And immediately, I realized that we were in the middle of a psychological operation. I saw where the trajectory of her narratives and the narratives that these people were pushing was going. This was all about defeating. Look, Charlie Kirk is responsible for about 2.5 million votes. That's what they say TPUSA is personally responsible for. We beat Kamala Harris by 2.3 million votes. And they understand that Charlie Kirk was directly tied to Donald Trump and his success, as well as TPUSA. So when Charlie Kirk was killed, the other thing they realized that they had to do is they had to take out TPUSA. And so they started creating these narratives. Number one, Tyler wasn't the shooter. I don't care how much evidence you have and everything that's going on with that. Like, we need to set that aside. We need to create these other narratives. And, it all leads back to Donald Trump taking out MAGA, making sure that they're not effective in the midterms. And ultimately, look, If we lose the midterms, we're losing 2028. I think that's just a fact, and that is by design. So that's kind of where we're at. I mean, we can get into some of the specifics of those things, but the truth is important. And right now we have a war against truth, and that's what's going on here. And people need to wake up and see what's happening and how they're being manipulated left and right.
Yeah, and that's part of the reason that we wanted to have you here, because what I was witness to, number one, I was witness to whenever you brought the information and your investigation forward, then you really started attracting the fly.
Yeah. No, immediately once I started kind of, let's back up a little bit, because initially what happened was, when Charlie Kirk was killed, within days, we started seeing these different narratives spun where it was, a palm gun, it was 3 different camera guns, it was flying drones, it was tunnels underneath Charlie. Mm-hmm. And the only thing that I was in these were conspiracies that were kind of just out there that people were kind of regurgitating and perpetuating. And all I did initially within the first week was like, hey, look, folks, I can tell you right now, as a firearms professional, as somebody that deals in these things, that shoots a lot, that understands ballistics, I'm telling you right now, this was not a palm gun, and here's why. You don't see a muzzle flash. You don't see the amount of energy that is dumped into Charlie is clearly, to me, a high-powered rifle. Like, there is so much energy that takes place, the energy transfer, it is obvious. The other thing that was very obvious to me is that it was directly from the front. When you look at the side view, you can see that energy transfer that's very linear from basically generally his 12 o'clock. So all I said was like, hey, look, this wasn't a palm gun. This wasn't an iPhone gun. This wasn't a camera gun from the rear. He wasn't shot from the Bushman up here. And here's why. And immediately, it was really bizarre to me. I started getting attacked, and where they were saying, like, you're paid by the Jews. I'm like, what?
Yep.
What does the Jews have to do with this?
Oh boy,
you're a Fed, and then like I saw these. There were some real people, but it was also very obvious to me right off the bat that there was a lot of bot activity in the comments of these videos. Mm-hmm. And then so I kind of disregarded that. Continued to investigate. I wanted to know what actually happened for myself. We had all of this misinformation, or we'll just call it an information gap. So one of the things that was said, well, how did he get on the roof? Well, how did this happen? How did this take place? So the only answer to me was like, hey, you know what? We need to go to UVU. We need to take a look at the truth on the ground and see what this place actually looks like. And I did something similar to Butler. And during the Butler, I actually went out to Butler. I did the exact same thing. And I was surprised to see how different everything looks when you're at the location. I just understood that, like, first step of investigation, you got to go there and you got to talk to people. And so I went there and I realized, number one, how easy it was to actually get on the roof. It is a public walkway. It's part of a walkway that goes in between buildings. People are walking on there right this very second, and you step over a rail, you move 200 feet to the shooter location. And, one of the things I talked about is, there was this thing going around saying, you got to be Spider-Man to get up there. And, you got to scale the walls, you got to scale the roof like Spider-Man. And one of the things I said, like, you literally don't need arms to get there. And it's true. You can step over a rail, you move to the location where the shooter was. And when you start looking at that location, and then you also see how small it actually is, it looks so much larger on TV, right? Like, or on video or whatever else. Once you're there, you start seeing how ridiculous these other shooter locations potentially are. Like, from anywhere in that location where the Bush shooter was, you can see that location very clearly, and you can literally toss a baseball up there. The distances are so short. So the other thing that I did for a lot of people out there, and I had this naive image in my mind where I could go out and provide this information to people, and I ended up having a 3D survey done. We had a drone that flew over the location, created a 3D survey, and ultimately we spent thousands of dollars, tens of thousands of dollars to create this 3D model of the location. And then we gave it to people for free. We put it on X, put it on other locations where you could download it. You can use Blender, or you can use another program called Rhino 8, which the Rhino 8 is a paid-for software, and it's not cheap, but you can use it in Blender. But the point of that is like, people can take this information, they have a a 2 scale. It's plus or minus like an inch. So this is like forensic level detail of the location, where if you think, hey, you know what, I think a shooter was here, or I think a shooter was here, I thought I was going to be able to contribute to this collaborative effort, and we could get all these people that disagree. And by the way, I've had people on my show early on that, you know, believe in the exploding mic theory. Let's hear you out. Explain that to me. Like, tell me how the physics of that works. You know, we've had multiple other people come on the show and discuss, especially early on, like different theories and things like that. And I thought that these people were acting in good faith. But what I realized very quickly was what you were doing was these people were so bought into this that this was almost heresy against their religion. And they felt so attacked, you know, like having the same conversation that you are here. We'd have good conversations. The next thing I know, they'd be on X bad-mouthing me like, Gary's a Fed. Like, that's all you got. Or Gary's paid by the Jews, or Gary's paid by TPUSA. When, again, this was like, I thought we could get together, have some good faith discussions, and actually figure out what was happening. And I found out real quick that people are not actually interested in the truth. They're interested in propagating their narrative, and that's what it came down to. So, you know, and then not long after that, I saw what Candace Owens was doing with this, and the narratives that she was spinning and selling. And I realized what was happening. This was an attack on TPUSA. This was an attack on MAGA. This was an attack on Trump, all under the guise of a investigation. And for whatever reason, like, here's the thing with Candace Owens. She still says to this day, I think that Tyler Robinson could be involved, but she also stated that Tyler Robinson never stepped foot on the UVU campus, which is insane in itself. But even though she thinks that Tyler Robinson is involved, how much time has she spent investigating Tyler Robinson?
So you're talking about the Spider-Man lie, right? Is that what you're talking about when she said he's got to be Spider-Man or something to that effect?
Well, she has said multiple times, it's kind of a different thing. Number one, she said that Tyler Robinson was never on campus. She said it was never on campus. Well, she's went back and forth. There's some clips that I played where at the beginning, actually when the charging documents were first released, she went through portions of the charging documents. If you watch that episode, I think it's 234 or something like that. If you watch that episode, she didn't actually go over the charging documents with her viewers. What she did was she created some bullet points on a piece of paper so that she could control what was released. And one of the things that she said early on was she had a source that she trusted that has confirmed information for her multiple times. She knows the source is good. And so she starts reading a portion of the charging documents that she clipped out and kind of re-narrated onto a piece of paper. She said the portion where it says the mother and the father recognized Tyler Robinson. She said, my source confirmed it, that the mother recognized Tyler Robinson. Well, it was 10 episodes later, she comes out and says, you all know this narrative where they said that the mother had confirmed that she saw Tyler Robinson. Well, that was all a lie. That was a lie by the media. It was a lie that she started, I guess. And by the way, her sources confirmed, a source that she trusts. She said multiple times in that episode how she believed that source, why she believed that source. You know, there was multiple confirmations of what that source was telling to be the truth. And then 10 episodes later, not even 10 episodes later, it was like a week and a half. Later on, she was saying that that was all a lie and that Tyler Robinson actually was never on UVU campus. So it kind of goes into that Spider-Man narrative. But what she did multiple times was try to make it so crazy that somebody would be on the roof. That how did they get to the roof? Well, she's never actually even shown the video of how easy it is to get on the roof. And I was shocked when I saw that video. I showed you guys that video when you guys were on my show.
Yep. And I played it while you were talking about how easy it was to get on the roof for the audience here.
Awesome. Yeah. So, you know, it's you just walk up there. So the reality is, and one of the things that I said early on is it was clear to me that whoever planned this, number one, the planning of this entire thing, the assassination of Charlie Kirk, is not that sophisticated. I know people want to turn it into something more sophisticated, and they want to make it, you know, they want to throw out hyperbolic statements like you got to be Spider-Man to get on the roof or to get down or whatever else. But the fact is, it's not that sophisticated. It's not that complex. We also now know Oh, well, one of the things I said was that it looks like to me whoever did this, and this was like, the first couple days, whether maybe even before Tyler Robinson was actually apprehended, but it's like, it looks like to me that somebody planned the actions on of this operation, but they clearly didn't have an exfil plan. And that's what it looked like to me. And we saw how fairly organized his, what we call the infiltration, getting on top of the roof, getting in position. It was fairly organized, fairly well planned. But then, he's jumping off a roof that doesn't really make sense. And then on top of that, he leaves a gun in the woods and all this other stuff. And then later on, we now have what he said on the note underneath the keyboard, which was basically like, hey, I don't know if I'm going to be successful. I don't know. I'm probably going to be apprehended or I'm probably going to be killed. So it was very obvious to me that was kind of confirmation of what I was seeing take place and unfold during those events of the footage that we have so far.
Very, very compelling, very, very compelling analysis, because as you can see, while he was talking, Jeff showed you that was the video. You literally just walk up the steps. That fence probably wasn't there at that point whenever he was there. It was after the event. So you could just step right over that rail. 1 second, you're over the rail. You're right there in the little quote unquote, the nest. So let me ask you, I have an interesting question for you, Gary, because another thing with all these narratives that people are seeding and they're throwing all this stuff around, they're telling us, and you made the point, which is the point that we make. I don't trust everything or anything that's going or coming out from government. I want to go look at it all too. They accuse us of being, you're just tagging along with the narrative. Well, you can't really call a narrative the things that happen. The things that happen are the truth, and the narrative is usually the spin on the truth. So from your perspective, do you feel in any regard like you've gotten like substandard or lacking information, or the FBI gaslighting us? I mean, we've literally been like for the last 20 years watching the FBI come out and look us right in the face and lie straight to us. And in this instance, and a number of other instances I don't have to get into, I feel like they're giving us enough information to get us to the point where we can understand pretty well what happened without the every single paragraph and parenthesis in the report. Does that make any sense? I mean, like, what's your perspective? Do you feel like you're being lied to by the feds, quote unquote, regarding Charlie Kirk?
No, as a matter of fact, so my time at UVU, I was completely skeptical of everything we were being told by the official narrative and ultimately the charging documents, right? And by the way, I do feel like we're still being lied to regarding Butler. And I think that the investigation under Butler and everything that led up to it, I do think was a conspiracy under the Biden administration and the Biden DOJ. And there's a lot of elements. And if you'd like to get into that. So there's nobody more skeptical of government than me. But the other thing I'm very skeptical of that I know also lies and actually lies worse or more, and that is social media influencers.
Right.
Like, I don't trust either one of these. And what I'm going to always come back down to is, the evidence. Like, what does the evidence and the facts say? And while I think at the time that we had the charging documents, there were some gaps in information there. And what happened, anytime there's an information gap, people are going to fill it up with these other conspiracies because, look, these are extremely popular. You're going to get 10 times more views if you're pushing some of these conspiracies. And it doesn't matter how crazy it is. It doesn't matter how wrong you end up being. You are going to be more popular. You're going to get more views, clicks, super chats, all the things if you push those. And if you're willing to sell out your credibility, integrity, and I'm not willing to do that. So when I looked at what happened at UVU, and I was at UVU, and then we look at the charging documents, there were still some information gaps there that we had. As we were now we have search warrants that you can go through, additional court documents. We have the statements of his own defense team. The more that information came out, like, there's almost no room for some of these insane, like this is... The information that we have rules out so many of these other conspiracies that are being pushed, just plain and simple. And, one of the things that I did, also just a logical step, like, okay, the charging documents have this information in here. Like, how much of this is true? I'm not a lawyer. I've never prosecuted a case or defended in any sort of criminal case. So I thought the next step was to have, a lawyer on, a defense lawyer, and specifically I wanted a defense lawyer on to go through and like prosecute the evidence of what's being stated in these charging documents. So I had Andrea Burkhart on, and we actually went through all of these charging documents and went through all the evidence. I'm like, hey, Andrea, how much of this can be faked? How much of it could be possibly, let's say, the government, the FBI, the ATF, Utah SBI, they have to get all together and they have to get their ducks in a row to create this conspiracy and to create evidence. And she's like, Gary, listen to me. What's going to happen is all of this evidence, whether it's the electronic evidence, whether it's the physical evidence, the ballistic evidence, ultimately, this is all going to be turned over to the defense. And they're going to have their own specialists. They're going to have their own subject matter experts be able to go through this and determine what is real and what is not. And, that's what we have. And the most compelling portion of this case to me from the beginning to now is the fact that his parents turned him in. Yeah. And that was another thing that they tried to attack, right? They had to say that his parents didn't turn him in. That's not true. They created this narrative. This guy came when in reality, the parents went to this former law enforcement friend that they knew that could broker the deal to where Tyler could be turned in under the most peaceful, less traumatizing to poor Robinson as possible. And that's what took place. And so, they've continued to have to break down these different elements of this, but his parents turned him in. That's a fact. And since then, his parents have never come out once and said, hey, you know what? My son is not guilty. We see that he has.
They would run right to Candace's show, wouldn't they, if they really thought, right?
And by the way, Jeff, wouldn't you? If you really thought that your son was being, this patsy for a crime that he didn't commit. I don't care what court order is in place. I don't care what it would take. I would be the first one out there on a video telling everybody, like, hey, my son is innocent. My son is innocent, and he is being framed for a crime that he didn't commit. And by the way, it's a death sentence. That's what they're going for. And the fact that we have never seen that, and we will never see that. And by the way, if everything in these charging documents weren't true, all the testimony that's recorded in here, the prosecution, we already know they've named Tyler Robinson's parents and Lance Twiggs as witnesses for the prosecution. If they were going to come onto the stand and just completely contradict everything that are in these documents, they wouldn't be calling them. And that's not what's going to happen.
That's right.
So, that's kind of where we're at. To me, that's the most compelling. Like, forget about all the other mountains of forensic evidence that they have.
And then, don't forget that he actually texted his, friend, whatever, roommate, whatever it was.
Furry gay lover.
Furry. It was a furry.
Furry gay lover. But, saying that I did it. And also the note said that he doesn't think he'll be back. I mean, again, the bullet, you want to go through a little bit of the ballistics because everybody became a ballistics expert overnight.
Yeah, my God.
And they wouldn't listen to Gary, the ballistics expert.
It's amazing how that works, isn't it?
They were all way better than Gary as soon as they had something to talk about.
Yeah. So, let's talk about the ballistics. Look, at the beginning of this, the first video that I put out, and understand everybody that's in the audience, look, when you're trying to watch something that took place as we did, we have a high-speed, energetic event that is being recorded by a 30 frame per second, maybe even a 60 frames per second. I think it was 30 frames per second looking at the metadata that is on the recordings that we have. And who knows how exact that is after it's passed around and, all the things. Like, we didn't get it directly from the source necessarily. But so we're trying to interpret what's taking place of a high-speed energetic event. And when I first saw what took place, it looks like that we have a deflection. There's like this weird thing going on where it looks like it hits him in the high upper chest, and then ultimately we see the wound take place, which is a atypical wound for an entrance wound, and we'll talk more about that. So initially I said, hey, look, I think what's going on, very first day, by the way, very first day I put out a video saying, hey, what I think happened is that he had some sort of ballistic plate underneath, and we had a deflection off this, and this is what happens. Well, by that evening, I was getting ready to do a live stream, and I got additional pictures and videos that came out. And we could see that Charlie Kirk, it didn't appear that he was wearing any sort of ballistic protection whatsoever. And that night, I said, hey, folks, I probably have a mea culpa here. We're trying to interpret this event, and, we don't have a lot of footage. And all this other things. I just want you to know, it looks like he doesn't have any sort of ballistic vest here. And initially too, I will say, I don't care who out there says they're a ballistic expert. The one area of ballistics, we have 3 different types of ballistics people study. Internal, so what's happening inside of that, a lot of reloaders. If you're doing reloading, you are basically trying to tweak the internal ballistics of that firearm to make it as repeatable, the ammunition as repeatable and accurate as possible. Then we have the external ballistics, what's happening once the bullet leaves the muzzle, and then it impacts the target. So that's external ballistics. You're learning how to read wind, you're understanding ballistic coefficients, all of these things. And then we have terminal ballistics. What happens when a round impacts a target? That's terminal ballistics. And that is the least studied, least documented portion of ballistics. There's just not a lot of information on that. And initially I was very skeptical, although I never said it's impossible. I was very skeptical that we had a 30-06 that hit Charlie Kirk in the neck and didn't exit. So then I started doing some research on it. I'm like, hey, this is an area of study. I shoot hundreds I've shot millions of rounds. I was a sniper team leader. I teach long range ballistics. This is an area that I know that I have a gap in information, right? I need more information on this before I come to a conclusion. And one of the things that was brought up to me was the Martin Luther King incident where he was assassinated. And there's a lot of controversy around Martin Luther King. But one thing that is not questioned, that I couldn't find anyone saying otherwise, is that whether or not it was a 30-06. It's widely accepted that it was a 30-06. Now, what's interesting about the Martin Luther King incident is that we have a shooter from 65 yards away, almost exactly half the distance to Charlie Kirk, which is around 142 yards. So we have a round that impacts Martin Luther King around the mandible and then hits him in the spine and deflects downward. And I was looking at that. I'm like, wow, that's interesting. So then I did more research and I started going through pathology reports, and I found more. A lot of people were sending me information that were specific to 30-06 studies in the military and things like that. Come to find out, folks, it's a lot more common to see a 30-06 hit a person, and there's something unique about a spine. And for those of you on Twitter right now, I want you to go look up a guy named Chuck Ritter. Chuck Ritter is a former Green Beret as well. And he was actually shot with a 7.62 by 54. It's literally the Russian equivalent of 30-06. Ballistically, they're the same. Velocities, bullet weight, all of those things, extremely, extremely similar. And he was shot from 25 yards away. He got hit in the back here. It missed his ribs. It didn't hit any bone. And then it hit him directly hit his spine. The round deflected downward. And guess what? Not only did it not exit, Chuck Ritter's still alive. And this is one of the most documented. This is one of the most documented shootings ever, because he was actually in Afghanistan at the time. One of his friends, one of his teammates on his ODA, actually had a helmet cam, so you can literally watch this take place. Wow. And then on top of that, because he basically came out and was like, "Hey, I hear everybody talking about 30-06 how it's impossible." He's like, "Hey, I had this happen." People were like, "BS, you're making this up." He's like, "Here's the video." Well, the video wasn't good enough. He's still a liar. Here's this guy who got shot. He's a liar. And so then they actually,
That's
then
AI.
It's AI.
then he releases pictures of him in the hospital where they were treating his wounds. And then he released his entire medical report. So it is one of the most documented shootings on the face of the planet, with a round that's exactly the same, almost exactly the same as 30-06, shot from 25 yards away, no exit, didn't kill him. And by the way, he's a badass and just kept fighting. Like, he was still shooting. He was still shooting after that.
Yeah, he didn't care.
Yeah.
Wow.
So, when you look at what's going on, and look, here, at the end of the day, and we can talk about more variables, at the end of the day, that could have been a 1 in a million shot. Could have been a 1 in a million, could have been 1 in a trillion. Doesn't matter. All the evidence excludes any other option. I mean, it really does. And here's one of the things that just drives me wild. If you want to go into the conspiracy realm, what they want you to think is, I guess, and this moves around constantly, but I guess the French Foreign Legion, the United States military, and I don't know, an Israeli assassin. We got to throw the Jew in there somewhere.
There's got to be a Jewish person.
You gotta-
Forget about the Egyptian planes.
You got to squeeze the Jew. You got to squeeze the Jew. They said we're just going to shoehorn the Jew. So they came up with this highly sophisticated international, multinational assassination plan, and it was so well done. It was executed with such precision that no one has ever seen any other shooter. They've never seen another Israeli out there. They've never seen a French Foreign Legion guy out there. They've never seen anything else. All like 3,000 cameras out there. We've never seen any other evidence of any other shooter, but they pulled it off. They had Tyler. Why they would include Tyler Robinson, I don't know. We got to have a patsy, I guess. So they have Tyler Robinson as this patsy. We have somebody else shoot Charlie Kirk with a different caliber rifle, and then they exfil off there, and they're like, "Man, we got away with it. We got it. We got it done. We pulled that off. That was awesome." Hey, you shot Charlie with a 223 or whatever round. Like what gun did you give the patsy? Oh, it's 30-06. Oh God.
Oh,
did we
darn
screw
it.
up with that?
Right.
Did we screw up with that? And we can get into some specifics and some of the things that I would speculate on with what would easily explain those things. And there's thousands of good reasons as to why we wouldn't necessarily have a exit wound. But the reality is like weird things do happen with ballistics. You were talking about like, and the other thing people would say is like, well, just recreate it. Folks, if you don't understand, and by the way, anybody that's going out in their backyard and shooting a piece of meat and then coming back and saying, hey, you know what,
Look.
this is science.
Yeah.
Like, you need to reject, and they do not understand the complexity, the variability of actually testing ballistics. Just getting number one, until recently, we didn't even know what brand of ammunition that he had. So we're just guessing on what ammunition he had. We don't know the bullet weight. We don't know the type of projectile. We don't know the velocity. We don't know anything about the actual firearm. And all of these things are going to introduce variables that we don't have the information. Like we couldn't reproduce this. And on top of this, there's a very big difference between ballistic gel. Ballistic gel is not an analog for human beings, folks, and we can talk more about that. And then we don't have anything that nearly replicates something like Charlie Kirk. You can't just hang a piece of freaking beef or a rib roast or something up there, shoot it, and be like, oh, this is science. It's the most ridiculous thing ever. Like, even if you had an exact analog of Charlie Kirk sitting in that exact chair, shooting from that exact spot with the exact same ammunition and from that exact same rifle, just actually hitting the exact same spot in itself would be very difficult to do. And the moment that you start moving that impact, you're going to get extreme variability. And then on top of that, just ammunition. If you understand ballistics, you understand that I can spend a lot of money either reloading ammunition and get it exactly the same, and I could take that ammunition and I could shoot a similar target. The impact is going to shift slightly. The terminal ballistic effects and outcomes are going to change slightly. Like, all of these things happen. So, like, if you don't understand that and you don't understand material science testing and the variability that's involved, and you go like, well, just reproduce it. Like, if you say that, then you don't know what you're talking about.
So this is the different variants, right, of loads for the 30.
There's hundreds of them.
Right there.
That is
just a small sampling.
Yeah. Now, I do think that we have a better idea of, number one, we know it's Remington ammunition. I suspect that it's core-locked ammunition that's very popular. There was another document that also said that it was that ammunition was approximately 8 years old. We don't know what happened with that. And then there's, within the core-locked, they also have like a low recoil core-locked as well. So there's lots of things that can happen. The one thing that I do suspect is that when we see Charlie Kirk's entrance wound, it does look larger and atypical than what we would normally see with an entrance wound. For people that don't understand ballistics, you have something called gyroscopic stability. And for most people, they understand we have rifling in a rifle. All right. And what we call that's the barrel twist rate. And the reason for that is that it's spinning that projectile at a very high RPM and it stabilizes it. And the analogy I like to use is somebody throwing a professional quarterback. We got Tom Brady throws a football. You can see it's a perfect spiral. It goes right where you want. And then you take somebody else that's never thrown a football and watch them throw a football. And what you'll see happen is that it's wobbling all over the place. That's called yaw. And I've seen this in our long range courses, our tactical carbine courses, and everything else, where either something's wrong with the ammunition or something's wrong with the barrel, where what you get is extreme yaw or even tumbling. And we could have a round that is, if it's not in a perfect spiral and it's not stabilized, it is going to move all over the place. And what you see, the results of that, for instance, if you're shooting a paper target, is you don't see a nice clean circle, a round hole. What you see is something that is atypical, right? Either it's longer, it's wider,
A little rectangle, maybe.
Yeah, not necessarily a rectangle, but it's an oval because that round, instead of going straight through, is more like this. Does that make sense?
Yes, sir.
Or what we call keyholing, where the round is actually tumbling and will actually hit the target sideways.
Right.
I think we had a bullet that had some sort of extreme yaw that created a larger hole in his neck. And so that round is not going this way. It's more like moving this way. And at that point, not necessarily sideways, but again, take a football perfectly straight, kind of cant it forward a little bit, one way or the other. And at that point, it is not going to exit, folks. It is going to, as soon as it hits something more dense than air, i.e. the flesh, the muscle, fluids, and especially bone, what's going to happen is that thing starts to tumble and it's going to hit the spine, which the spine is a very energetic absorbing mechanism. And I want people to think about this. You can take a 9mm, take a piece of steel, let's say a 1/4-inch piece of steel, and we can shoot right through that 1/4-inch piece of steel. We can take a 1/4-inch thick piece of Kevlar, shoot it with 9mm, and it's not going to actually penetrate. And the reason for that is energy dispersion, right? It's the same. It's a thinner, softer material. And what we see with Chuck Ritter, what we see with Charlie Kirk, and what we see with Martin Luther King is we have a round that hits the spine. And I want you to think about the spine and everything that's connected to, and all the millions of muscle and tendons that are connected to it. That, once it's hit, it is going to disperse that energy. And I think that's what we see take place. I think, and you can see it from the rear, by the way. There's lots of videos out there. I have them where you can actually see Charlie Kirk from the side. And we can go into, like, if people have a lot of questions about the strange anomaly of what's going on with his necklace, by the way. But you can actually see how much his spine actually flexes out and deforms and then kind of goes back in.
Right.
So from a ballistic standpoint, that's that's kind of the best explanation, and I think the most plausible explanation. And there again, folks, if you go to my X, there is a pin post there that I talk about the ballistics and the different variables that we're dealing with when it comes to ballistics, and all the information that all these ballistics experts were saying at the beginning, and still do this now, because the only thing we know now is that it was a Remington ammunition. We don't know the projectile type, like all the variables that you would need to make any sort of predictive outcome. You had not a single one of them. And yet all these people were saying, oh, this is what happens because of, I shot my pawpaw's 30-06 and, like, shut up. I drive a car. I've been driving
Everybody's an expert now.
I've been driving a car for 35 years. That doesn't make me a race car driver or a mechanic or anything else. Tangential experience doesn't make you an expert. All you're looking at is anecdotes at best and very small sample of those. Like, just stop.
And so why do you think, I mean, and I pretty much know the answer, but I want to hear it from you. Why do you think that these people are making up bullshit?
I mean, it's extremely profitable. I mean, a lot of these people have went from 0 viewers to a lot of viewers and a lot of followers and everything else by pushing this stuff because people want to believe. Look, we have been traumatized as a nation, especially over the Biden administration. We had January 6th. We have the stolen election. We have the DOJ being weaponized against a former president, against all of his allies, against protesters and everything else. There is a deep distrust of our own government, and rightfully so, by the way.
Mm-hmm.
And I want people to understand it's not just these individual opportunists. I want people to think about this. Do you not think, with all the Chinese people here that are spies and the fact that China just watches everything that we do in our own media, and Russia and Iran and everybody else, do you not think that they completely understand better than probably most Americans the distrust that we have with our own government? And do you not think that they're going to take advantage of that and exploit that from a propaganda standpoint? Of course they are. Mm-hmm. So I do think that a lot of this stuff, not only is it very popular amongst real people, amongst real Americans, conspiracies have always been popular, mm-hmm. and they will continue to be, whether they're true or not. But they're going to push this stuff, and we can get to fifth generational warfare or what's going on with that. But I'm telling you right now, a lot of this stuff is being pushed by sock puppet accounts, by bots. They are pushing this information because they understand the damage that it does to the Trump administration. And look, all of our foreign enemies, and by the way, our political enemies, and not just Russia, China, and Iran, but I mean all of Europe. All of Europe hates Donald Trump, and you better believe that the German BND and many of these other MI6. I think they're behind this too. I think that they're pushing these things because they do not want Trump in office. Mm-hmm. Yeah, the Five Eyes, all of them. All of these, at the end of the day, all of these, everybody outside of the United States, except for a very few, do not want to see America. They want to see America taken down several notches, right? They don't want America to have the influence in the world that they do. And when you can take Donald Trump out, Donald Trump is one of the first. I love the way that he's utilized our military. We saw what we're capable of, mm-hmm. and we saw what down in Venezuela. We see what's happening in Iran, whether you agree with that or not. But the fact is, Donald Trump is one of the first presidents that's not afraid to throw the weight, the economic might, the military might of this country around to make sure that he is pushing for things that are beneficial to the United States. Whether we're talking about trade, whether we're talking about tariffs, whatever it is, he understands America is by far the greatest, most powerful country on earth. The problem is we haven't had leaders, and we have a lot of leaders, number one, that want to take down this country. We have a whole party that is absolutely dedicated to the destruction of this country. And then we have a lot of people, even within Republicans, that they, for one reason or another, aren't afraid to use the military and economic might of this country. And Donald Trump is not one of them.
Boom. Love it.
Man, I mean, one of the things that I'd like to just say real quick is, number one, I'd like to say thank you for coming over and sharing with us, because, guys, this is what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to give you ammunition for your friends and family right here with Gary and presenting this stuff to you so that you can take literal, factual information to people that are, don't be aggressive. You don't have to be demeaning, demoralizing, calling them names. Don't do any of that. You just have to ask them very specific questions like, well, if what you think that you heard from Candace is true, then how could this be true? And make the comparison. You can very subtly change people's minds dramatically with very small, tiny little pieces of information. What they're setting up is they're setting up a dynamic where the environment is where no one can discern what the truth is. If they can get you into that environment where no one can discern what the truth is, they can control you. Part of the reason they don't want us talking and doing these things and explaining the truth is because we can't be controlled. So for all of you guys out there that are hearing Gary right now, and you've seen all of this nonsense with Candace, you've seen all this nonsense with the Charlie Kirk assassination, well, you have to explain the things. You have to explain the idea. If you want to say that there was a quote-unquote camera gun or whatever it is, then you have to explain how the one shot synced up perfectly with Tyler Robinson on the roof and how his rifle ended up with a spent round in it, talking about his furry buddies or whatever. You have to explain that.
Catch this, fascist.
Right. That means Tyler had to go on the roof that day with a spent round in that rifle and do nothing for their theory to be true. If you believe that's true, that's fine, but you have to be able to take in relative information and organize it in a way where you can't dismiss everything that you know to be true so that you can believe in the conspiracy. And effectively, that's kind of what we were talking about the other day, Gary, is like people see these conspiracies and they fall sort of through it and into the conspiracy you were mentioning, we were talking to you the other day, and then they end up in the rabbit hole of this one thing, and they never return to the surface out of it.
Yeah. Well, and just like you're kind of like, give me an alternative. Like, I will change my opinion tomorrow. Just give me some evidence.
Wrong.
Yeah. Like, just give me some evidence of something else. And when all the evidence that we know is true, and by the way, again, one of the things I was completely objective, hadn't come to any decisions or conclusions at all until kind of probably a week after I got back from UVU and had a lot of time to like really digest everything that took place. And while I was on the ground there, I talked to, 6 or 7 people that were actually eyewitnesses to the event. And the one thing that struck me is a couple of things. Number one, every single one of them said the same story. Every single one of them said, hey, you know what? The sound came from this direction. And you guys got to understand the layout of the courtyard of UVU. Even when I was there, they actually had the waterfall, because there's the fountain area that we see in the video, but what wasn't running at the time was the waterfall feature at the area. They cut that off because it is very loud. But the way that sound deflects, of that multifaceted, like it's tiered, it's a interesting environment. But all of them said that, hey, you know what? The shot came from this location. It was a gunshot. Some of them talked about like, hey, it sounded like a 5.56, or it sounded this way, or whatever else. But the fact is, you would expect that the way, because depending on where you're at in that environment, sound is going to ricochet all off. And it is very interesting where he was, because from his right side, he was at the Lossie building. We have the Sorensen Center right here. And from his right side, it was basically covered both from sound and visual because of the way that the terrain was and the way that the architecture is. So I don't doubt that you're going to have different perspectives of what you're hearing and what you're seeing. But every single person I talked to is like, I think it was Tyler Robinson, regardless of what, this is independent thought of like what I'm being told by the official narrative. And the sound is different. But again, like the facts on the ground, and there's a reason. Like, you're not going to see Candace Owens. She has all the resources in the world. Why hasn't she brought on multiple eyewitnesses to give their perspective? There's a reason, because the dozen or so that I've now talked to, I've had 5 or 6 on my channel, all give the same account. Why hasn't she had lawyers on to go through the evidence and say, hey, this is why everything in this document is going to be real. It's tangible evidence. We have evidence of evidence right now. All we have is a list of evidence, and we're seeing more and more. But it is real, and this is why it's real. She's never done that. So all the basic steps that anyone would take, I'm not like some FBI agent. I've never done like some crazy investigations, but there's just some basic steps that you would take. And she's never taken those because she wants to control the narrative. She wants the information released that she wants, and she wants to be able to manipulate that information to her viewers. So, that's what's going on. And, I don't remember your original question, to be honest with you, Shay.
I don't know, but it went well. I mean, you did great. And by the way, this is hilarious that Erica Kirk's podcast is over Candace Owens in the latest.
Nice. That's
about a week
good.
ago. And people are starting to mitigate or move away from Candace. Real quick, let me accept and start this, Shady Groove. We do have a sponsor for today's show. It is the Rumble Wallet. They can freeze your accounts, shut off your cards, and lock you out of your own money overnight. Banks don't protect you. They control you. And that's why real freedom starts with ownership. Introducing the Rumble Wallet, a non-custodial wallet built for people who refuse to give up control. With that Rumble Wallet, you don't just buy digital currency like, Bitcoin and Tether. You can own Tether Gold. That's the one we like. Real gold on the blockchain. Through Tether Gold, you can get direct ownership of physical gold bars, each one allocated, verifiable by serial number, purity, and weight. And that isn't paper gold. That isn't an IOU. This is real gold without bank vault storage fees or gatekeepers. You can buy, sell, or move all that gold 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, even when the traditional gold markets are closed. Yeah, and if you want, guys, Tether Gold can be redeemed for physical gold. That is the power. And when you support the creators on Rumble that you like, You can tip them directly using that Rumble wallet, peer-to-peer and outside the banking system. No permission, no middleman, no cancel button. The wallet is yours forever. And boy, thank you guys for tipping the MG Show with the Rumble wallet as well. We appreciate you. And Shady, real quick, do you want to come back on hour number 2? I mean, this has been a great conversation, Gary.
Gary.
And it's up to you, but we really appreciate the interview that you did with us the other day. We got a really nice reception. Thank you. And, we're just going to take a 5-minute break here in about 10 seconds. But would you like to come back in hour number 2?
Be happy to.
All right, let's ride along with Gary. All right.
That sounds
guys,
awesome.
We'll be right back after these beautiful boom messages.
It's finally here, our second annual mega sale. This sale only comes around once a year, so take advantage of the best offers ever while you can. For example, save 50% on our Giza Dream bed sheets, as low as $29.98. And for the first time ever on TV, My Pillow mattresses and My Pillow mattress toppers, as low as $99.98. And you save 50% on our Lux Pure 6-piece towel sets, regular $69.98. Now only $39.98. And our best-selling standard My Pillows, regular $49.98, on sale for $17.98. Wait on it, mega sale only $14.98. So go to mypillow.com or call the number on your screen. Use this promo code to take advantage of our second annual mega sale. But wait, there's more. To make the mega sale even more special, when you order right now, your order's going to ship absolutely free.
Hello to all of you beautiful patriots out there.
First of all, let me just thank you all for supporting this show. We wouldn't be here without you. But I have a huge announcement regarding donations.
It has come to our attention that using the Rumble app is taking an additional 30% of your donation to the show.
Let me explain. According to our TOS, Rumble takes 20% of all donations made through the web browser.
And that's a 20%. It's a good deal if you consider other platforms like YouTube and such.
There is a hidden cost that we just found out. For example, we received the generous $500 donation from Spill Tea, and thank you so much for that, from the Rumble app on Apple. So Rumble took 20%, and Apple took an additional 30%. We brought that to Rumble, and they said, well, Rumble's take of tips and donations is 20%. That's if the transaction is done through the web browser. If using the Android or iOS app, it's an additional 30% collected by those platforms.
So please use the web browser to make your donations to the show and avoid the hidden fees by Apple and Android.
That's right. You can also support us at GiveSendGo/HelpMGShow, mg.show/donate. We have PayPal and Cash App. Both are at RealMGShow or $RealMGShow. Please help us out. We appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you.
The MG Show. Not funded by dark money, but funded by listeners like you.
Remember, thumbs up if you like the video, subscribe to the channel, and don't forget to ring that bell. Stay tuned, we're going to start right now.
MSM pumps the poison, turns the weak into slaves. Years of Hitler, Trump, threat to democracy, pedophile, rapist, traitor, the daily fantasy. From my timeline, I wanted straight facts, no cap. Mass comes plus demonization equals a predictable attack. Blowback's a bitch when the lies come home to roost. Now their own dinner party's the scene of the coup. Stochastic terrorism, blood on the fake news hands. False narratives firing from CNN's command. They radicalize the unstable, then act all surprised. But we see the shooters, we know who supplied the lies. Trump stands tall, fist raised, bullet couldn't stop the man. MAGA's unbreakable, drain the swamp, that's the plan. America first forever, legacy media's done. Your stochastic terror just made us stronger. Sons of guns. Thomas Matthew Crooks, Butler, July 2024. Rifle in hand, grace the ear of the man we adore. Registered Republican act, blue cash in his name. Bought the threat to democracy, played the deadly game. Ryan Wesley Ruth, golf course, September 2024. Rifle ready, Mar-a-Lago, hate treaty war. Anti-Trump pose, Ukraine fixation for left-wing fever. Believed every Russia hoax, every pedo believer. Cole Thomas, Allen Lee, SED, April 2020. Season donor, Kamala Cash, teacher from Torrance, California. Brew, shotgun, handgun, knives, manifesto, crystal clear. Pedophile, rapist, traitor, the exact fears we hear. Friendly federal assassin targeting Trump's whole team. From highest to lowest, straight from the CNN dream. Signed off ready to slaughter staff just to get through. Radicalized in the echo chamber, exactly as I told you. Obama says we don't know motive. Gaslighting king, manifesto screams the lies his media machine brings. SPLC hate machine pays to stir the pot. Jim Jordan drops the truth, third attempt connect the dots. Parkland drills false flags, they've run this script before. But Trump's still standing, fighting for the Republic's core. No more hiding behind stochastic, call it what it is. Domestic terror by legacy liars, pure political beat. Stochastic terrorism, blood on the fake news hands. False narratives firing from CNN's command. They radicalize the unstable, then act all surprised. But we name the shooters, we know who supplied the lies. Trump 2028, unbreakable fist in the air. MAGA's winning, exposing the real domestic scare. Drain the swamp, silence the lie, your sovereignty restored. Make America great and patriots, we're never ignored. We're never ignored.
Wow. Thank you very much. Welcome back to the MG show, where that was just going to play. It was you, Shady. We're always wrong until we're right. I just really quick want to welcome back Gary as well, Shady. He is going to ride with us on hour number 2. I just want to share with you a comment that was just said into chat. It's Brandon. Brandon says, thank you, MG show. Found you through Paramount Tactical the other day. I appreciate Gary so much. And I have a buddy that sends me things about that 17th letter of the alphabet all the time. So I'm glad I found somewhere that actually explains it. Thank you so much. Appreciate you. Gary, welcome back to the show, my friend. And you too, my partner in justice, Shady Groove.
Thank you so much, Gary, for sticking around. And again, I'd like to just say that it's an honor to actually sit down and have conversations with people that have the idea of getting to the bottom of something in mind. And what I noticed happened to Gary was that a lot of a majority of the people that were going after him whenever he made his post explaining to you what the truth was, I was like, oh, that's going to get him some attention. And sure enough, they all rush in, all of the little Flinian bots, all of the little InfoWars bots. And then the next thing you know, I start like going back and forth with them under Gary's post because they have beef with me already. And then I'm noticing, oh, you all of a sudden come over here to believe this nonsense. And you're believing it with force and vigor. Boy, I really appreciate that. So you can kind of see how their stochastic terrorism architecture works, because they have to demoralize people. They have to get us to not talk to each other. They have to say, oh, well, you believe this, and so since you believe that, I can't talk to you. Instead, iron sharpens iron. People talking to people makes people smarter. And, you were making the point about Candace earlier. And one thing I wanted to mention, not having anybody on, if you notice, she doesn't go on to do other interviews. She doesn't go into anyone's. The reason for that is because she's literally mentally not all there, because she didn't even know in the interview that it was text messages.
Yeah, the CNN interview.
Yeah, she thought it was Discord DMs, like, so she's acting like she knows everything. She doesn't know everything, and neither do we. And that's the point. We're trying to explain to you. We don't know everything.
So that's a good point real quick, because you have the ballistic knowledge because of your experience. And thank you for serving, by the way, too,
Yes.
Gary. Appreciate you. And then we were like, I don't believe anything these asshats are saying. And then we found you and like, here it is. Exactly. And I'm getting chills right now. Just like you didn't live the life that we lived for the last 8 years. And, you're not an expert on something that people are attacking all the time, too. So you're getting attacked for going against their narrative. We're getting attacked for going against their narrative. It's pretty amazing that we've come here together today.
Oh, I agree. And one of the things you guys touched on, that is when you start getting into these arguments with the Candace cults, the Baron Coleman cults,
Flynn,
all these people, the Flynns, whatever else, one thing that I have found time and time again is like they don't know the facts. They have not actually went through the charging documents. They haven't actually looked at most of the evidence. They definitely haven't been to UVU. They haven't interviewed eyewitnesses. So, there are people out there intentionally keeping people ignorant of the truth so that they can replace the truth with their narrative that is, there's all kinds of different things pushing those narratives, all of them bad for this country, and all of them ultimately targeting Donald Trump, the midterms, and ultimately 2028.
Boom. And they've even admitted it out loud. Liz Crokin, part of the Flynn Network, is saying that we want Tyler off.
Yeah,
basically.
Candace says the same thing. Candace is telling people not to vote in the midterms. Candace is telling people in the military to get out of the military. Just, stop fighting. Go ahead, just go AWOL, whatever it is. Become a conscientious objector, which that's not how that works. So this is completely subversive to this administration, but most importantly, the United States.
And real quick, Shady, real quick, I want to just thank Jersey Talks. Screw it. Let's get some extra rain in this amazing chat. That was a $2 Rumble rant. But he's done 30 subscriptions to you guys. It doesn't belong to me, so who I am to hold it. God has blessed me with my duty to pass that on, says Jersey Mike. So 30 subscriptions for Jersey Talks. Jersey Talks. Thank you so much, my friend.
So interesting that it's curiosity, right? I mean, so effectively, they are weaponizing curiosity, and then they are demoralizing yours. This is the way that the psychological operation works. They act like, oh, we're just asking questions and we're curious, but whenever they find answers to questions that they don't like, they dismiss them. Gary, literally, because he had respect for Charlie Kirk, because he was to some degree very supportive of Charlie Kirk, and was traumatized whenever he was taken away from us, like all of us were, decided to take his curiosity and do something productive with it for everybody. What he was trying to do was say, look, no, this is why this is easy to get on the roof. Look, no, there's not a tunnel underneath where Charlie Kirk was saying, look, no, you can't shoot a high-powered rifle round from a phone gun. These things are very basic.
Or a microphone gun.
Or the microphone doesn't. If the microphone exploded, then why didn't the microphone explode? I mean, it's like all of these different things. So it's curiosity.
And then tunnels underneath, that was far-fetched a little bit, right?
But the curiosity is what got Gary there, and the curiosity is what they weaponize against you. In other words, they're making you think that their curiosity is more important than the curiosity that actually finds the truth. The curiosity that never finds the truth is similar to the hospital that's never going to heal you. They're just trying to treat the symptom.
Yeah.
Well, it's funny. I was literally just posting, somebody commented on a YouTube video, and then I posted that to X. And this guy, Snacks23, never heard of him, but shout out to him. He said, framing accusations as just questions is a way to spread suspicion without accountability. Serious claims need evidence, not hints, not, just asking questions. And that's what's being done with this. So that goes right into the point of yours saying that curiosity is being weaponized. Absolutely. The other thing that's being weaponized and exploited is the United Americans' skepticism of government. You should be skeptical of government, but you know what? You also need to be skeptical of all the grifters on YouTube and all the social media personalities that are making a lot of money off this as well. They are monetizing deception, propaganda, and at the same time, they're telling you not to go vote in the midterms. That's insane to me.
Yeah. So go ahead.
No, I wasn't going to jump. You go ahead.
No, I was just going to go to the topic that we talked about at the front of the show.
Very good. And I was
in the green room, because we were on Gary's show. What was it, last Thursday, I think?
So yeah.
Geez,
A few days ago.
It was a great show, by the way. 3 whole hours on there, going back and forth, and really enjoyed it. Go over to Paramount Tactical over on YouTube. Somebody will drop the link to the interview here in chat. Make sure you watch it, because I think, Gary...
share it.
And share it. You did a great job with us, because, again, I'm not a ballistics expert. You're not an expert on what we've researched and hung on to for 8 years. And, Hillary Clinton put me on a list of people she wanted off X in 2019. I was censored by a sitting senator, and I was in Twitter Files 16. A sitting senator, Angus King, wanted me off Twitter for covering what I'm about to cover today. Also, CISA and DHS, Jim Jordan talked about that, wanted us off, censored 4 of my tweets, which was interesting. I'm an American citizen. We also have, people like Media Matters doing over 40 articles about us, calling us names and stuff like that. But what's interesting is, we use this saying, we're always wrong until we're right. But what was interesting on your show last week was, we said, wait till you find out that the Clinton Foundation and Uranium One and Clinton and Rosetta, all that, we talked about it, and we put that out into the universe last week on your show. And guess what Grassley just released?
Evidence
of what we were just talking about. So I just want to real quick just go through this. This is the article right here. This was Grassley dropped a 91-page packet, fresh 12-page FBI EC reopening the Clinton Foundation preliminary probe. Uranium One pay to play is exposed. $235 million from Rosatom and U1 bosses straight to the Clinton Foundation. Foreign influence plus speaking fees, exactly as that 17th letter of the alphabet mapped for years. Called the spider web years ago, Q drops on the Clinton Foundation as the center of the pay for play. Russia deals, U1 donations. U1 mentioned 39 drops, 39 times. The Clinton Foundation tied to foreign slush funds to fund corporations. Q flagged the same network shielding it while flipping the script on opponents. The same network of players, Comey, FBI director, the Clinton Foundation probes buried across the federal offices while Crossfire Hurricane launched on Trump. Atkinson sat on the Clinton Foundation Uranium One whistleblower docs and then fast-tracked the Ukraine complaint that impeached Trump. Public record, no theory. Grassley's filing plus these Q breadcrumbs equals proof shady. I mean, that's where we're at. That's amazing that this came out. So this is let me just get to this article. This is Chuck Grassley released the FBI Washington's field office 12-page electronic communication that opened a preliminary investigation into the Clinton Foundation. This extensive evidence, let me just make that bigger for you guys, potential pay-to-play criminality among the Clinton family confirms the politicalization and weaponization of the DOJ. Last year, another trove of documents released by Grassley summarized the origins of 3 separate FBI investigations into the Clinton Foundation, open respectively out of New York, Little Rock, and Washington, D.C. field offices. As the Federalist, this is from the Federalist, reported at that time, those documents indicated that Ray Hulser, then head of the Department of Justice's Public Integrity Section, the PIN, did not support the investigation in the Clinton Foundation and withheld information from the U.S. Attorney Office running the probe out of Little Rock. We even have pictures of the DOJ plane in Little Rock.
Literally that day. Like it was to give it to, that was Bill Barr on the plane that day, right?
I don't know.
I think it was.
Special counsel John Durham would later question Hulser about the Clinton Foundation investigation, and then that PIN chief told Durham's team that although he had declined prosecution on behalf of Public Integrity Section, he told the offices he made it clear, however, that his decisions was not binding in various U.S. attorneys' offices or FBI field divisions. This is the reaction to the Clinton Foundation briefing was hostile. It goes on to talk about the Iowa senator. Okay, that's our trust Grassley. Okay, that's the only trust that I think is actually still alive. Shady Crew. All the other ones we don't trust. Okay, just to be honest. So this is the then. Beginning with the donations to the Clinton Foundation totaling $2.35 million, the then head of the Russia's government uranium company, Uranium One. The EC is not limited to evidence about Uranium One. It also details evidence of donations to the Clinton Foundations from executives of Polo Resources. 8 weeks later, it says The U.S. ambassador to Bangladesh persuaded the prime minister to reauthorize the pit mining, including in which Polar Resources had interest. Imagine that, pay for play, you see. Yep. We've got Colombian Timber. That's another Clinton Foundation donor, pay to play. In fact, that movie, the Clinton Files or something that like that, talks about how they utilized their power to make. Go ahead.
No, were you talking about the old, like the Clinton Chronicles, right?
Yeah,
like,
Clinton Chronicles. Thank you.
Way back in the day. Yep.
Yeah. So there you go. So keep going into here. It's just wanted to just kind of continue, but it's interesting that there's Papadopoulos in there, that Russians had dirt on the Hillary. Remember all this, Shady Groove? Plants need water. But there's the document here from Todd Blanche. But it's very interesting because there's names that we all know in there, like Michael Atkinson. Atkinson was in 2 posts in 2020, guys. So what's interesting is that we put that out in the universe on your show, Gary, and here we are talking about it today with you on the show, and it happened yesterday. Pretty interesting.
Well, you know, the wild thing with all this, and this is something, folks, I don't know if you guys have watched the Andrew Wilson, Owen Schroyer debate. If you haven't watched it, you should. Amazing. A lot of things came out. And here's the thing, like one of the biggest tropes that we've had the woke right pushing is that Trump isn't doing enough. They're not arresting all these people. Like, folks, the Trump administration is not the Biden administration. This stuff takes time. And what we're seeing now, we're seeing these investigations start to bear fruit, right? The Biden administration would just go grab someone, throw a bunch of charges at them, and see if they stick. We have a Trump administration that is actually following the rule of law and doing legitimate investigations, which take time. You got to be patient. And
it must be done
only a year and a half into this. And then on top of that, they knew the Trump administration was coming on. They had plenty of time to cover these things up. They had 4 years, by the way, when it comes to Uranium One to cover these things up. And now we see that we have prosecutions going against the SPLC. So all these things that people are wanting to happen that are now throwing a fit and saying, don't vote Republican, don't vote for MAGA, because they're not following through on all of their promises. Guess what? The promises are coming through, and you guys just got to have a little bit of patience and not just throw a fit like, I don't know, some, a spoiled child when you don't get everything you want when you want it. It's
like when people go,
well, like that, but no, what you're saying there is very, very critical, because that's part of what we're doing on the show is we're explaining to people what everybody else in the space is skipping over. Yeah, skip right over all this stuff. And another thing that you're saying is very important is if the country is organized correctly, if the country were organized correctly the way the founding fathers intended it, it would be organized in a way where people find out something, people share it with other people, all of those people agree that something should be done about it, they make noise about it, and their representatives hear them, and then their representatives start looking into it, and then their representatives investigate it, and if there's criminal activity, they're prosecuted for it. That's the way America is supposed to work. The old world was this world of where the king sits there and has a decree and says, oh, well, go after this person and this person and this person. What we say here on the show is it's crimes that you are going after, not human beings. And everybody has gotten this taste in their mouth, this blood taste in their mouth of like, the Proud Boys are going after these people and the Antifa are going after these people. You don't have a right to go after anybody.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and what's also interesting about this is like we hadn't heard about the Uranium One investigation taking place. We didn't hear anything about the SPLC taking place, all that investigation until the charges were brought, and now we have information. Like
until the D-class happened. Yes.
Yeah, exactly. So like these investigations are taking place professionally, the way that they're supposed to, under due process, under the Constitution, the way that it's supposed to be done. Not like the Biden administration that starts, going out after political dissidents and smearing them in public and then filing these BS charges and then putting them in solitary confinement where they don't even have access to a lawyer. That is not America, folks. We don't want Trump and we don't want any politician to be doing the same thing that Biden was doing to Americans. That was an abuse of the system. That was a weaponizing of the DOJ. And that's not what we want. And now we're seeing competent adults in the room doing what we're supposed to do under the rules of the Constitution.
So I want to put you, I want to show this video from April 16th when DNI Gabbard released the never before seen documents. Check this out.
always the right time to expose the truth to the American people about the deep state tactics that have been used time and time again, fundamentally to undermine the foundational principles of our republic, and in so many cases to undermine the decisions that the American people make when they cast their votes in our elections to decide who they want to lead our country. And so the documents that we released really pointed to the fact that the 2019 impeachment occurred because there were members of the intelligence community working directly with House Democrats, specifically Adam Schiff, who's on the House Intelligence Committee at the time, concocting this narrative, weaponizing the whistleblower process, lying and abusing their power, all to create this manufactured basis that Nancy Pelosi then used to drive this impeachment against Donald Trump in 2019.
We call it the wrap-up smear. If you want to talk politics, call it the wrap-up smear. You smear somebody with falsehoods and all the rest, and then you merchandise it. And then you write it, and they'll say, see, it's reported in the press that this, and this. So they have that validation that the press reported the smear, and then it's called the wrap-up smear. Now I'm going to merchandise the press's report on the smear that we made. And it's a tactic.
I'll hit the high points on these documents. There are details and hundreds of pages of transcripts that we released in conjunction with House Intel Chairman Rick Crawford. But the bottom line is this. Number one, the whistleblower, so-called whistleblower who came forward, presented no evidence and no first-hand knowledge. This is a person who had heard about a conversation that President Trump had with Zelensky, then went straight to Adam Schiff on the House Intelligence Committee. And this is where they came up with this false narrative. And this so-called whistleblower then went and filed a complaint with the Intelligence Community Inspector General. The other witness, so-called witness to this, is somebody who also had zero firsthand knowledge and presented zero evidence, someone who was also a co-author of the 2017 Russia hoax intelligence community assessment that President Obama had ordered be created in conjunction with John Brennan and James Clapper at the time. Again, no firsthand knowledge or evidence, and someone who said that even after reading the transcript, he didn't really see the issue there until the whistleblower had explained it to him. And lastly, the Inspector General himself. And this is really such a violation of public trust and the responsibility that we expect all of our inspectors generals to have, in that he didn't conduct a full investigation. He didn't even ask to see the transcript of the phone call between President Trump and Zelensky. And he admitted to Congress that he did not have any evidence that he was relying on. He had made a criminal referral to the Department of Justice based on this so-called whistleblower's complaint. Department of Justice came back and said there's nothing here. This Inspector General then went to Congress anyway and presented to them. All of this coming down to the bottom line of which this was a partisan political attempt, once again, to undermine the will of the American people who elected Donald Trump as president.
Wow. So that was when she came out on News Nation. Michael Atkinson is in fact the person as well that fast-tracked the fake complaint. He was the person right here. This is Atkinson here. He was the Inspector General of the ICIG, which is what she was just talking about, from May 17, 2018 to April 3rd, 2020. And he was the IG who handled the whistleblower complaint that led to the first impeachment of Donald Trump. So very interesting coincidences, I'm sure. And now Grassley, as we were talking on your show, now Grassley is going after the same people about the Clinton Foundation and the same thing that we've been talking about for years, and news is unlocking, and the D-class must happen first. We must all understand it, and it must be done right. To your point, Gary, it must be done right to the letter of the law in order to do this correctly, and that's what America is founded on.
Well, yeah, and look what she's basically saying took place. We have the accusation and the charges being filed before they even have evidence. That's what they're essentially doing. And we see that again taking place in social media all over the place. We see the accusations first, and then we'll get to the evidence. You don't need evidence. We're just going to accuse you first, and then we're going to get to the evidence. And if we can't find evidence, we're going to make up the evidence. We think the evidence is there. We're going to convince you that there's some sort of evidence. Then we're going to take a bunch of dots that don't connect. We're going to create a correlation that doesn't exist, and then we're going to convince you of a causation that doesn't exist either. That's what's taking place here. And, Nancy Pelosi, we have a lot of grifters out there that are using her playbook.
Yeah.
but they are. That's what's happening.
All from the Democrat Party. If you look at these people, whether it be Liz Crokin or Michael Flynn or Tucker Carlson, all these people, Tucker Carlson, that guy is a neocon of neocons. Like, people aren't, they're if Tucker Carlson is out there trying to call you a neocon, then the irony is rich. Let's put it that way. And Megyn Kelly, another one. These people are literally, they're of the ilk of the established order of where we talked about it yesterday. Gary, the whole time growing up, whenever there was a president, 60% of the press was against it, 40% of the press was for him, back and forth, Democrat, Republican. You never saw any the distinction in that whatsoever. It was the same every time. And Donald Trump gets elected, and it's 95% against. And now all of these, ABC, CBS, NBC, they're required by law to give equal opportunity, equal time, and to talk about the news in a neutral way. They're all abdicating their platforms by going after him the way that they've gone after him. And whenever we're talking about statute of limitations, by the way, another interesting little thing that Q dropped in reference to this Uranium One stuff in relevance to Hillary Clinton, what she was doing was she was giving foreign nations access to the literal special access programs like pay to play. You come right in and you look right here. And if you want the schematics for the Black Hawk or whatever, here it is. Like, that's what she was doing. And Q explained that statute of limitations on stuff like that doesn't exist. So that's part of what you were, explaining. The wheels of the government turn slow, but they grind very finely.
Yeah. So let's look at this core Uranium One drop. Let me grab the.
I think Gary would be interested in seeing that.
This is the actual document here. Okay. It is right here. So if you run this through, guys, okay, so basically the core Uranium One drops, highly relevant to Grassley's letter, are drop 199, November 22, 2017. Uranium One, California, European Union, Asia, Iran, North Korea. Where did it end up? What is the purpose? Who was supposed to win the election in 2016? Q drop 48, one of the early ones, questions clear ties to the DOE documents on Uranium One. Other drops frequently use Uranium One as pay to play, Clinton Foundation donations, suppressing FBI investigations, mirroring Grassley's 2016 oversight and ongoing oversight. 1148, 246, and nearby FBI informant on Uranium One, public interest focus, ties to other scandals, Awan, Debbie Wasserman Schultz, etc. 2087, the FBI references the FBI vault docs on Uranium One transaction. Uranium One is 39 drops, guys. And Clinton Foundation, dozens more. May 2017 to 2018, Q links to Uranium One with the Clinton Foundation, foreign donations influencing State Department, CFIUS, buried FBI probes echoing Grassley's current letter on the 2016 investigation. The Russia collusion is a distraction from the real Russia Uranium One scandal, national security risks, right? So the specific tie-in, we often highlight Grassley's long-term role, and he was a Trust Grassley post as well. 4221 in 2020 is one that's interesting. But these drops frame Uranium One exactly as the Grassley letter does. Corruption via foundation donations, undisclosed conflicts, suppress FBI's work, Uranium One control risks. Q presented as part of a larger deep state protection racket. But you can search the full archives on the site like qag.news and just use Uranium One or ONE or U1 for complete text and images, Shady. I mean, it's all there. It's all there. And but
JFK Jr.'s alive.
Do you see how crazy the JFK Jr. is alive?
Or devolution. the devolution, the devolution thing. Yeah, devolution was what they did, Gary, was after Donald Trump's administration, all of this stuff came forward from where you would be General McInerney, General Flynn, and Sidney Powell, and these people, they got into Trump, and they were Patrick Byrne and Flynn got next to Trump that night in the White House, and they were trying to pitch him to sign the Insurrection Act. Had they gotten him to sign that Insurrection Act, that was going to be the coffin, the last coffin nail. They would have been able to get him on treason. You see, so they were trying to set him up in this whole situation. You can't communicate with people. How do you communicate? Like this whole thing that's been going on with Q was to communicate with us how it was that this was going to play out. And then they turned it on him in the last minute after he had pardoned Flynn. They went and they tried to turn it on him. And then whenever that didn't work, they kicked off J6.
Yeah.
You see, big distraction. And then they tried to say, oh, Donald Trump's going to be the president. And Flynn came out and said, I guarantee you 110% Donald Trump's going to be the president. And there's going to be the Insurrection Act is going to be signed and all these different things. And they put all these people that were paying attention to Q and they sucked them into this devolution nonsense instead of acknowledging that Donald Trump had been railroaded. And then these numbnuts created all of these PACs and they raised a bunch of money and they went to Arizona and created a horrible optic of going in and getting people's ballots and looking through them, and then they can find another 200,000 votes for Joe Biden out there. It's all a game, and they're running it. And Donald Trump can't come out and say this stuff 1-to-1. So what he's doing is he's grinding them into the court of public opinion every single day. And now we've got them all on the same page, agreeing with the Democrats, which is perfect for us as we have 6 months left to dive into the midterms.
So, and at the same time, creating agent provocateurs and coming up with the entire plan of J6 and having different deep state agents of different agencies out there. We got EPS out there. We know what took place on January 6th. And you know what? And we just want to pretend. And then they take that and they use J6 of all these people they got riled up, throw them in jail and keep them in jail at the same time, not giving them any sort of due process whatsoever. But what they have now is an additional narrative that they can use as a political bludgeon against the United States president.
Absolutely. And what they did was, you think about what the optics were. All of the people that were wrapped up, that were part of their operation in J6 were let walk away. People like Jake Lang and a number of other ones that got put in were paid to be put in. Enrique Terrio, all of these people. There's money coming to these people that you don't see that's a lot bigger than that you can't even imagine. And so they made it such a disaster that Donald Trump really didn't have any option other than to just let all these nuts out, because they weaved the cases in with completely innocent people. And then, if you go read their testimony of Biggs and a number of these other people, they were intending to do what they did. They didn't get caught up in the melee. The other people that got caught up in the melee were the people that got prosecuted the worst.
Yeah.
People that didn't even go into the Capitol building.
Yes,
but,
sir.
And we're forgetting an important element of this, the entire conspiracy to steal the election to begin with, which is exactly what took place. And we all know that, and more information, more evidence of that is coming out. But this goes back to why we're not going to see the SAVE Act. And it really pisses me off that the Republicans haven't done this, because they look, at the end of the day, we have zero election security whatsoever. And they know that it's extremely easy to commit election fraud, but because of the lack of security, the lack of things that they have in place for confirmation, is extremely hard to prove, especially when you got drop boxes all over the place, especially when you got mail-in voting. Everything that they did, they utilized to the nth degree. And then suddenly in the middle of the night, Joe Biden wins the election, and we all know it's BS.
Yeah. It's all BS. And so we were kind of going over this a little bit with you. Was January 6th a setup by General Flynn and Roger Stone? Why did Stone monitor the Capitol breach from his Willard Hotel suite on calls and scrambling to leave? What was General Flynn's role? Did they coordinate with Oath Keepers, Proud Boys to push chaos, pardons, or Insurrection Act? Trump said no to violence. So who really planned it? So this is you want to go through this thread a little bit, Shady?
I was thinking that it might be really good for Gary to sort of see this in the way that we've got it sort of put together, so he understands. And because there's a layer
this goes
of this
back to the influencers.
There's a layer to this influence, right? And Roger Stone, Gary, is a behind the curtain type player. This guy has been manipulating and undermining and attempting to destroy conservatives in America since the 1970s. And whenever you talk about, you mentioned this at the beginning of the show, you talk about protecting conservatives. I grew up with conservationism. I was a conservative because I had the idea of conservation, paying attention to conservation, and literally being a conservative in my real life. Like, I don't spend more than I can produce, right? Being a conservative. Sure. This guy, Roger Stone, has been touting himself as a Republican or a conservative, but in all reality, he is a wolf in sheep's clothing, and way too many American patriots take this dude seriously. So we were trying to show you some of this stuff the other day, but you couldn't hear the audio. I think it might be interesting. I think you might be interested for Jeff to kind of do this little presentation about what we got on Roger Stone here real quick.
So let me just start off by General Flynn and the group wanted to pay for my way, airfare, and hotel to go to D.C. Thank God my mom was ill. I never thought I'd ever say that, and I couldn't go. But thank God, because I'd probably be in jail. Okay. And then, Shady told you about they had me at a CNN versus Flynn, and I can't really talk about it, but the case is public. You can see that they said that QAnon was the ones that were behind the attack on January 6th. That's what they were saying, okay? So this is the Manhattan Madam. We talked about her again, also with Roger Stone, okay? And it's very interesting. This is the Manhattan Madam handling. Let me just go
General
here.
Flynn.
Okay, that question.
On or about January.
Flynn,
who is involved in the Pentagon's response to the January 6th insurrection. Did you communicate with Charlie on or about your brother, General Flynn?
Okay, that question.
On or about January.
This is why AP. See, AP won't this. So because of this interview, I will never talk to AP again. So if somebody in a press conference, and because I usually ask, who are you? I got it. I'm so sick of this because it's so fake.
She's mad.
So targeted, and it's all about we're gonna get this guy. No. That was dumb.
There's Brian Gamble. Okay.
I'll never speak to AP again because
with his Hitler haircut. All right, so that's Brian Gamble. So going down further, we know that's all her. So this is the plot thickens. This is they were at the January 6th. They were going to speak allegedly.
I don't understand. They don't have passes to the VIP section.
Stone was going to speak on the same stage as the president and lead the march on the Capitol.
I only have the instructions you sent me, period.
But the lack of access passes was making him suspicious.
On what I sent.
I don't understand how they want us to lead the march, but they can't even tell us where to go. So it doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, it doesn't make sense because they knew. Okay, so that's a little bit of that. So then this is who else could have been involved. Let's listen to this.
I'm going to make 3 calls, 2 to keep people in the campaign to get information, and then 1 to General Flynn.
Oh, General Flynn. Okay, wow. So he talks to the general.
Activated until now.
General, I think this is important, though. From a positioning point of view, having him say count every vote and having us say stop the count, the optics of that are terrible. Our slogan should be count every legal ballot. Count every legal ballot. Much better messaging, more positive. I mean, you know what? You've got great social media following. Get out there and say it. What I'm suggesting is that you do something like that.
So what kind of people does he need?
Yeah, I need a little committee. That's very good. Also, as I said, military, retired military, any rank.
Ever been fully,
like Stuart Rhodes, Joe Biggs, this is after Stone was snubbed from speaking at the J6 he watches from his DC hotel.
What this is all about. We will stop the steal.
Who came up with that?
Roger Stone, 2015. I have paychecks from Stop the Steal
we won it by a landslide. This was not a close election. I say, but I was one of the 5 outstanding.
He's something else.
And I had a campaign against.
He's mad.
He's not doing anything. You're letting it go.
This guy was later arrested for storming the Capitol.
Supreme Court justice. I control them. They're puppets.
I think it's just pure anger at this point. and he's been brooding for weeks. He doesn't know. He knows he got screwed, but he didn't know what to do about it. He can't find many allies. He's getting conflicting advice. He's even getting conflicting advice among those who think he should fight.
Roger explains the setup right there.
Yep.
Exactly.
Well, and it's wild that they're documenting this. You think they were documenting this?
This was a documentary called A Storm Foretold. This movie was basically Roger Stone having this guy follow him around and document his actions. And then whenever the guy released the movie, Rogers came out and denounced it and said that it was all AI and all this other nonsense and tried to sue the guy and stopped it from being released in America.
So even the director of the movie blocked me because I said that he's not for Donald Trump, and he blocked me. So the guy also said that it was a coup. Okay. In any other country, this would have been a coup. Now, let's just keep going. Okay. Check it out.
With Enrique Tarrio Bart from D.C., Joe Biggs led the Proud Boys as they marched on the Capitol.
This is the first point here. This guy right here is a oath keeper, I believe, right here. And down here, there's going to be Proud Boy or Oath Keeper, and then over here is Ray Epps. Okay, right here on this line.
That's the first push from the back of the Capitol.
What's that?
I said that's the first push in from the back of the Capitol.
And you'll see Brian Gamble.
Ooh, see that?
See that?
Wow.
Okay, this is before Donald Trump was finished speaking.
He was still talking. That's correct.
Are being evacuated.
Okay. So we're going to do that, and then we're going to go to this. This is Boone Cutler. Okay, he now has since passed away. There's Boone Cutler as well.
He wrote 5GW with General Flynn.
Yep. Okay. Who else can we find? Again, Boone Cutler. And then Purple Meathead was on the Reawaken tour. What was his name again, guys? You remember his name?
I can't.
I always forget his name.
I always get stuck on that name.
Yeah. And then here's Brian Gamble. Okay, let me just get it over here. This is Brian Gamble right here, filming the gentleman here, Tim Hart, who is part of the Flynn Network as well, with a Q shirt and a Q hat.
This is part of the setup. Hang on.
All right, so that's that.
So just so you know that's Brian, whenever he says Brian Gamble, that's the same Brian Gamble that was standing next to General Flynn. That is General Flynn's right-hand man. And right there in that picture, you see Brian Gamble with I-70, who is a quote-unquote Q follower, a person that we were associated, we knew him. He dressed up all in Q gear, is standing there behind the lines as they're waving everybody into the Capitol. They're attempting to set up the optic that the QAnons are the ones that raided the Capitol.
There it is there. Look at that. Okay. And then, you got this. Look at this. Oh, my gosh. Check this out, brother. I mean, I can't believe he filmed this either. It's called A Storm Foretold.
Gunshots, and then we subsequently learn about the woman who was shot.
I am getting out of town.
Why? Why would Roger Stone need to leave town?
It's because somebody got shot.
We are the fucking news now.
So that's a Q phrase. We are the news now.
You are not welcome here. You better back up.
Purple Meathead equals Joey Gilbert. Thank you so much,
Gilbert.
Mr.
Oh, that's it.
Get the fuck out.
You told the fucking truth. That never would have fucking happened, piece of shit.
For I had followed Roger Stone with my camera, witnessing every step leading up to this moment. What had begun with the baseless allegations of election fraud had grown into an attempted coup.
Baseless.
A poorly planned and incompetently executed attempted coup.
So the director of the movie is from Denmark, right, Jeff? Netherlands?
Denmark, yep.
What was
Denmark.
it?
Narrative framing from the beginning.
Peaceful.
Yes, sir.
Progress
Absolutely.
impossible.
The whole
Make
thing.
violent revolution inevitable.
He just said it. Back that up. He just said it there.
What was it Kennedy said? Those who make peaceful progress impossible make violent revolution inevitable.
He means violent revolution against our president, Gary.
Stone wanted to leave immediately. His allies in the Proud Boys and the Oath Keepers had been at the forefront of the attack. 3 people had been killed and hundreds were injured.
It's described as a graphic image of a woman that was apparently
not doing this on behalf of our
today.
president.
We don't have an age. We're told she's in critical condition. She is now being treated at a local hospital. And this came to us.
This proves that we had nothing to do with this.
We did nothing wrong.
We did nothing wrong.
Roger Stone did nothing wrong.
Came on the air around 3 o'clock.
Changing plans. We got to get these two in his car somehow.
Yeah. What's this?
Everything.
Okay.
Everything is now going, both trolleys.
Both trolleys, Shady Grove. And then coming here, you know that he was pardoned as well earlier by President Trump, and here he goes for a second pardon. Why would you need a pardon if you did nothing wrong?
Stone was afraid his involvement with Stop the Steal was about to get him arrested again and was writing the president for help.
You can read that, see what you think. I'm going to take a quick shower. Don't go through the drawers, okay?
He was asking for a second pardon, this time even before he had been charged, presenting it as part of an elaborate plan to save the entire Trump movement.
So that's that. So real quick, Trust 1961. I'm so blessed to have found this amazing, truthful show. Thank you so guys very much. Thank you. EMP Hands, thank you for the subscription as well. And then continuing, Stone tried to advance his J6 pardon with Matt Gaetz. Where's Matt Gaetz today? Interesting, huh? When Stone didn't get a pardon, he went ballistic. But this is how did it happen? You know that AP asked a question of General Flynn about his brother, Charles Flynn. This is why they asked that question.
Call him. I said, send me the National Guard as quick as you can. I'm going to get approval any minute. Because he asked, do you have approval from the Capitol Police Board? And I said, I'll have approval any minute. Please just get them coming this way. So they're within eyesight. Shortly after 2:09, I talked to them. 2:34, I get a notification to get on the call with the United States Pentagon. I have to sell my request for the National Guard. I'm on the call with a Lieutenant General Piat, trying to make sure I have his name pronounced right, and a General Flynn is on the call. And it's mainly Piat that I'm speaking with. I get on the call, Mayor Bowser's on the call, Chief Conte's on the call, and I said, I need the National Guard immediately. This is an urgent situation. I still remember saying urgent twice. This is urgent. And they gotta be looking at the same TVs I'm looking at. I need the National Guard immediately. You know what his response is? Don't like the optics of the National Guard on Capitol Hill.
Don't like the optics. All right. And then continuing, let's see, let's keep going. Let me just, I don't know. I think that's where that kind of ends, but Shady?
If you grab I have the video, the final video on my pinned right now. If you want to grab that, just to play that.
All right, will do. I'll grab that while I'm playing this right here. Listen to the director of the video.
Were you shocked to see integral players in the Trump circle calling for violence over the 2020 election results?
I can't say that I was. I mean, when we arrived at the election, I think
most Americans and people outside the country that followed the developments had heard pretty much everything. So it wasn't as much the threats and all the bravado going on. It was more to witness it actually being materialized, that they weren't just talking about it and huffing and puffing about it, but they actually they actually realized what I can only, had I made this documentary in an African country, I would not have hesitated for a moment with calling it a coup d'etat or an attack on democracy. But because it happens in the most powerful and influential modern democracy in the world, I think like many other people, I feel a reluctance for calling it for what it is. But that was what we saw unfolding, and I think that stunned me. And it took when I was in the midst of it, I don't think I realized the gravity as much as I did afterwards.
And what most people don't realize is that Donald Trump fired this guy in 8/8 of 2015. Okay, yep. And Shady Groove, I got your. So when he didn't get his pardon, this is how Stone acted.
Let's be very clear. There is no Vatican, cocksucker. It's one sentence. One sentence. So if you're in a meeting and he says that, you punch him in the mouth as hard as you can to make your point. It's one sentence. We're not stupid. There is no paperwork, you cocksucker. He needs to be impeached. He needs to be denounced and impeached. The greatest single mistake in American history. Greatest single mistake. He's surrounded by morons, and he surrounded himself by morons. And a good long sentence in prison, he'll give him a chance to think about it. Because the Southern District's coming for him, and he did nothing. You want to fight? Let's fight. Fuck you. Fuck you, your abortionist bitch daughter.
That's not AI.
Now, did the Southern District or the courts in New York go after Donald J. Trump?
Yes, sir. That was on his way to the airport, Gary.
There's more to this as well, and I did present this to somebody by the name of Kash Patel. Shady and I did. So,
Kash Patel.
He's just the FBI director now.
We might have had a little bit of a communication before this whole administration even started, Gary. And they were actually information that we had regarding these topics and these people was requested before this administration started, before we even knew he would become the FBI director. And you can see there the SDNY reference. You can also see clearly that these people, the reason Stone is important, Gary, is because he is in charge of puppeting all these people, whether it be InfoWars, whether it be Loomer, whether it be Carlson, Owens. He is the one that they look to. Loomer and him are like having this little dynamic fight right now. What they're trying to do is they're trying to make everybody think that Loomer is associated with Donald Trump so that everybody can paint Loomer as this psycho. And then if you agree with Loomer, you agree with Donald Trump. This is the way their antics work. We can see it clear as day, but it's not easy to explain.
So also,
it's narrative framing throughout. And one of the things I was thinking about as you guys were playing that, does everybody remember if we go back all the way back to the Tea Party? We saw the exact same thing taking place under the Tea Party. And I think this is where a lot of this was originally developed, the plan for this and the strategy for this. Because we remember the Tea Party, suddenly we had Democrats and we had these Nazis showing up and we had the Tea Party people like, get away from us. But that is what we saw on the narrative framing side. We had the mainstream media saying, look, these Nazis, these white supremacists are part of the Tea Party, when we know there was nothing to do with those, and those are probably Southern Poverty Law Center folks. We know that those were Democrat operatives. We see that Patriot Front, all of these groups that are intentionally seeded into these events to undermine what's going on. And now we just see a much more developed and sophisticated plan taking place under Roger Stone and others.
Absolutely. Yep. You're seeing it clear as day. And it's amazing. It's amazing how easy it is to see whenever you kind of peel back the layers of all these things that they throw in your head. You know, what Jeff and I say to people is like, I know you're reading it on your phone, but go say it to a mirror to your face and see if you still believe in the Egyptian planes. It's like all of these different things that you have to be able to talk to yourself. And we actually, whenever you talk about the correlations between, again, what is the conspiracy? Of course, the conspiracy is interesting, but these people like Alex Jones and InfoWars, it's a model to purposely distract you from, obviously you paint all this stuff and point to these things that are real, and then you just like slide everybody into a conversation that it's the Jews. And obviously there's Jewish people of the religion that are participating in the bloodline death cult that currently runs the world. But it's the Jewish people, the Muslim people, and the Christian people that are pretending to be Jewish people, Muslim people, and Christian people, aristocracies that are in charge of that. And that's what America broke. That's what the founding fathers broke. And that's what they have been desperate to reestablish ever since 1776. And they almost had it complete had it not been for 2016 and Donald Trump winning that election.
And I'd like to real quick show you just this little graphic that we worked on. These on the right-hand side of the screen are the Oath Keepers, and on the left hand are the Proud Boys. And then you got Matt Gaetz, Jacob Ingalls, and Joe Greenberg. Joshua James was Stone's J6 chauffeur. We actually spoke to him, and he got afraid and ran away from us because we're like, "Are you ready to be a whistleblower against Stone?" And he was scared.
Not. He was not ready for that.
Yeah. So just very interesting. And then you got this, that they actually worked with the Proud Boys leader, worked with DC police intelligence. Okay. This is a video of Terrio and other Proud Boys. This is funded by, what's his name? Patrick Byrne. Okay. This jet.
On his private plane.
To bring them in. Okay. We got them all, man. This clip is hilarious, Shady.
You want to play it?
All right, we'll play it real quick.
I'm pretty good at spaces, Gary.
To get back in, but we got Jen.
Okay.
So
what I was saying was that thing about Jaden X is an example of it ain't what you don't know that hurts you. It's what you know for sure that just ain't so. So yes, the woman she's asked me, but she kind of asked me in a way that said she already knew it. She didn't know it. I see somebody at the top. Maybe it's you, Tish, just put up that, yes, I raised $100,000 in 2003. I raised $100,000 for Enrico Terrio. That doesn't have, but it is the case. What I told you was exactly true. In 2020, I wouldn't have known the guy if he walked up and kicked me in the knee. About a year and a half ago, I started helping Ryan Samsell and Jake Lang and these different groups, and Enrico Terrio's family came to me and said, "Will you help him?" And so I made a pledge too. And that's that. You now know the extent of my relationship, but people like to connect 2 + 2 = 37, and they jumped to all these conclusions. And I've skipped to about 10 different spots in this 4 hours before I joined, and it was filled with stuff like that, like all this stuff about Flynn and McChrystal. Flynn and McChrystal were close. They sort of co-developed this whole way of fighting a war. They went their separate ways, and McChrystal joined the left. Also associated.
That's a good one, dude.
Right, because you just know for sure, but it's something you know for sure that just ain't so.
I can prove it, but okay.
Yeah, right. Okay.
Yeah, that's why you got me blocked, because I prove it in your feed.
I just want to know. Oh, is this Sean McGuire?
No, sir. This is Shannon Townsend, Shady Groove of the MG Show.
Have I ever been on your show, Shady Groove?
Yeah, you came on my show spouting off a bunch of bullshit that got patriots all up in arms about being an FBI informant.
Okay, enough of that, guys.
Okay, you know what? What we should do then, and this is another great example.
We're not going to do anything you say. You're going to do what we say. It's we the people, not you the Patrick. You don't control us. You don't control narratives. You don't control anything. Maybe you should sit back and listen to people instead of thinking that you know shit, buddy.
And here are the people that Patrick Byrne funded.
I opened the door and I walked in. I saw General Flynn. I saw Sidney Powell sitting there. I was not happy to see the people who were in the Oval Office.
Explain why.
Well, again, I don't think they were providing. Well, first of all, the overstock person, I've never
that's Patrick Byrne.
This guy was. Actually, the first thing I did, I walked in, I looked at him, and I said, "Who are you?" And he told me. I don't think any of these people were providing the president with good advice, and so I didn't understand how they had gotten in.
We could tell you that whole story too.
By the way, guys, we're coming to the end of the show, but we've got breaking news, Shady. This is Q Post 356981-2019, talking about Comey will not prosecute Comey for leaking memo after IG referral source. Bigger slam dunk charges coming. Public understanding of events just around the corner. Comey just got indicted for a second time.
Wow. Today?
4 minutes ago. This is FBI Director Comey was indicted Tuesday over a photo of seashells threatened Donald Trump marketing. Wow, guys. So this is the 8647 stuff, guys, that he's getting indicted for. Wow.
One leads to the other.
And see, this is what all the doomers and the black pillars and the woke right, they're all telling you that's not happening, right? And that's the thing. Like, you have no idea what's happening behind the scenes, because we have adults in the room that are prosecuting these cases, investigating these cases, and make sure they have their ducks in a row before they bring charges, unlike the Biden administration that's going to charge you first, throw the accusations at you, and then come up with the evidence later, and hopefully they can find a judge or a jury that will convict people of stuff. We're doing things right. We're doing things by the Constitution, and people are getting pissed off because that's how the system works, people.
We have one that can see.
Oh, my gosh. Check this out. I want to show you this as well, because you actually... this is a post right here. This is 3724 on 12/18/2019. It must be done right. It must be done according to the rule of law. It must carry weight. It must be proven in the court of law. There can be no mistakes. Good things sometimes take time. Attempts to slow block the inevitable justice will fail. Democrats election interference 2016. Clinton Hussein illegal FISA. Democrats election interference 2018. Mueller. Democrats election interference 2020, impeachment, projection. These people are sick. We, the people, are the cure.
Sounds like crazy nonsense, doesn't it?
Sounds like you just said that.
It sounded like Gary just said the exact same thing.
So that's that. So now he's going to be, so let's just go back to this, because this is a second indictment, right? Bigger charges coming. I guess threatening to kill or unalive a president of the United States is pretty much a big charge. But let's just double check this. Comey's attorney declined for comment. It appears reinvigorated by acting Todd Blanche, who has picked up the pace, bringing presidential, has publicly jockeyed since the tapping of his role. What are the charges here? The second indictment. Secret Service. Okay, here it is. Okay, so this is the document here, the 8647 right here. Former FBI Director James Comey was indicted Tuesday over a photo of seashells officials said threatened President Donald J. Trump. Those would be bigger charges, wouldn't they?
That's a pretty big charge.
That's a pretty big one.
Yeah. Trump has long pressed for his political adversaries to face charges, including the former FBI director, as he sees the key leader is the perceived effort to weaponize the justice system against him. Last May, Comey posted a photo on social media of seashells on a beach, writing out Trump's numbers 8647, which critics referred to as taking out or unaliving President Trump. Bigger charges coming. You just witnessed a Q-proof in real time.
Wow, very interesting. Great to have you here today, Gary. And we would invite you back anytime that you would like to come on. We appreciate it so much. We appreciate the robust discussion. And also, we're completely open to any questions. The thing that we have found the most interesting about this experience is how few people have any real curiosity about how we know these things. And so we're like looking out into the universe. And we're like, hey, maybe there's a day that'll come that people will get curious about what the hell these two guys are talking about.
Like you, at least you gave us the space to be who we were. You didn't really, totally, discount us. And I appreciate that. You were actually asking questions. You were actually interested, and so was your chat. And that's never happened before, Gary. Thank you.
Oh, well.
Appreciate it. It's just been attack for 8 years.
Another first on Paramount Tactical.
Another first on Paramount Tactical.
It might be a sign of the future.
Well, look, that's the thing is like we got to there's people that we need to excommunicate from this party. But what we don't need to do in this movement, what we don't need to do is find little dumb things. I don't know how convinced I am of all the Q stuff. I think you guys have laid out some extremely compelling evidence with all this. And I told you from the beginning, I didn't know anything about Q. I heard it kind of peripherally as it was taking place. And I did hear, JFK Jr. is coming back, and I immediately dismissed this whole thing and just didn't pay attention to it. So I'm not educated on it. I don't have enough information to say it's true, it's not true, or anything else. I think you guys are some of the first credible people that I've heard talk about this, and also show some compelling evidence behind it. So with that being said, I don't really care ultimately whether or not,
and we don't either. We just want to be. We just want our president, and we want these treasonous mofos prosecuted correctly.
Agreed.
Yes. Not in a way that gets them off.
Yeah. And ultimately, what we need to do is point out the lies that are out there. We need to make sure that people understand the difference between truth and how they can get there. And that is making sure that you're following the evidence, making sure that you understand what's going on, and look at the motives behind, not really the motives. I'm tired of trying to figure out people's motives. What I can tell you is look at the trajectory of their actions and words. And when you see people like Flynn, when you see people like Candace Owens, when you see people like Tucker Carlson, quit trying to figure out why they're doing what they're doing, and just look at the trajectory of the results of their actions and words. And what the trajectory is, they want to get Trump out of office, they want to end the MAGA, and they want to ultimately, promote anything other than what we're trying to get done here in this movement, and that is make America great again.
Amen. Well said. Gary, give everybody your ats on X. What is your at there? It's at
Paramount Tactical. If you look at Paramount Tactical, Gary Melton, you'll find me. And on YouTube, Paramount Tactical, Instagram, and Rumble. So make sure you go follow us. We'd appreciate it, and we appreciate your support. Everybody out there that's looking for the truth. That's what we're here to do.
And I want everything that's on the wall behind you. Can you just send that over?
Yeah, we would like one each.
Trust me. I can. We can facilitate that. It'll come with an invoice, but we'll get you taken care of.
I'm fine with an invoice, sir.
Maybe we need like a MG show, we can send people your way somehow. Maybe we can figure that out too, Gary.
Well,
Thank
another way
you very
to
much.
support us is get all your gear from ParamountTactical.com. Go check that out. We'd love your. We'll take care of you. We only carry gear that we've tested, we use personally, and we're very careful about what we carry as real professionals that, again, from special operations. All of our instructors are former special operations. They're all professional instructors. We're not Bayou Billy back there trying to teach you how to shoot a gun.
Bayou Billy will get you on the back if you're not careful.
My 30-06 will blow through 4 trees.
I'm telling you, but you take that piece of meat and hang it up there and shoot it, son.
And thank you for your service, Gary. Thank you for coming on this show. Thank you for doing what we were looking for me, and Shady has a little bit of experience, but boy, we played your information on the UVU and the ballistic tests. It's good stuff, Gary. Thank you for making the 3D model and just proving these asshats wrong, bro.
Oh, man, you know what I love? I love that I've met 2 other people that are in the fight for truth, and I love that we're allied and moving in the same direction. I think that's what's really important. The left and the people that are trying to defeat Donald Trump are extremely coordinated, and we have got to get more coordinated. We've got to get together, and we got to work as a cohesive unit, because that's what they're doing. They're outworking us. They're out coordinating. They're out strategizing us. We got to get better at all this stuff if we're going to win. This is the fight. This is the battlefield right here. It's an information war for sure.
Thank you so much, and we are right here beside you, sir.
And
Thank
Jersey
you,
Talk says, hope y'all have a great day. I'll be going live at 6:30 Eastern tonight. If anyone wants to hang out and come hear me rant, just go to Jersey Talks on Rumble as well. Jersey Talks, thank you for all of the donations. We appreciate you. Again, we're in this battle together. We're in it together, guys. And sometimes the truth is tough, and I don't like it, but when it's the truth, it's the truth. Sadly.
Can't help it. Yes, sir.
And speaking of the truth, we'll be going live tonight at 7 p.m. Eastern time. We'd love for you to join us. We'll have EJ on. We're going to be talking about being prepared. So we'd love everybody to join us at that show as well. So again, thank you guys for all your support. I love that we're linked up and we're on the same, and I appreciate you guys very much.
Thank you, Gary. Thank you. And we're going to go out with Shady's song. Shady, what do you think?
Yeah, the one where you aged me 20 years.
Yeah, buddy.
Okay, let's do that one.
Well, you always say that I'm younger than you, Jeff, so I made you old.
It's not my fault your digits are bigger than mine.
See you guys later. God bless you all. Thank you, Gary. Thank you, Shady. Thank you to our producer, Yeti. And thank you, chat, for funding this show. Real quick, again, we got Bronwyn. Thank you for visiting us, Gary. Thank you, Gary, as well. Guys, bye.
Woke up this morning arms hanging tight, stumbling through the dark till
Old Shady.
the light. MG music humming low and tight. I'm always wrong till I'm right.
That's De Niro.
I got the always wrong till I'm right blues. Hear my plea. Mistakes keep piling, weighing down on me. MG music plays through the fight. I'm always wrong till I'm right. Folks point and laugh, say I'm a fool, tripping on my words, breaking every rule. MG music brills, cuts the cruel night. I'm always wrong till I'm right. I got the always wrong till I'm right blues. Hear my plea. Mistakes keep piling, weighing down on me. MG music plays through the fight. I'm always wrong till I'm right. Preach your bend, son, you're lost in sin. I said, Reverend, I'll lose till I win. MG music roars, my soul takes flight. I'm always wrong till I'm right. Preacher man said, son, you're lost in sin. I said, Reverend, I'll lose till I win. MG music roars, my soul takes flight. I'm always wrong till I'm right. So pour me some whiskey, let the night unfold. MG music hums a story untold. I'll crawl through the blues till the dawn's in sight. I'm always wrong till I'm right.
Thank you very much for joining us on the MG Show. www.mg.show. Boom. Nice. Thank you very much for coming over, Gary. Love it.